Fact number 1. Stalin tried to create ape-human soldiers. In the 1920s, Stalin supported a bizarre and secretive experiment led by biologist Ilya Ivanov, aiming to crossbreed humans and apes. The goal was an army of obedient hybrid soldiers. Therefore, Ivanov traveled to Africa and conducted controversial experiments, but the project ultimately failed and was quietly abandoned. Fact number 2. Pepsi was once the 6th largest military power. In the 1980s, the Soviet Union couldn't pay for Pepsi syrup with rubles. Therefore, they traded vodka and warships instead. As a result, Pepsi briefly owned submarines and destroyers, making it, technically, the 6th largest navy in the world. Fact number 3. The Soviet Union had a secret city just for scientists. In the heart of Siberia stood Akademgorodok, nicknamed the Scientific Vatican, established in 1957. Scientists here lived better than most Soviets, with access to rare consumer goods and even imported foods to encourage cutting-edge research in physics, chemistry, and nuclear technology. But Akademgorodok was surrounded by secrecy, and ordinary citizens were strictly forbidden entry. Fact number 4. The USSR had an official alcohol-free day. To combat rampant alcoholism, Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev implemented strict anti-alcohol measures in 1985. Therefore, entire vineyards were destroyed and liquor stores strictly regulated. But the most bizarre tactic was Alcohol-Free Thursdays, a mandatory day when no alcohol was legally sold anywhere in the country. Fact number 5. Tetris was invented in the USSR. Alexei Pajitnov created Tetris in 1984 while working at the Soviet Academy of Sciences. But Pajitnov earned no royalties from the game's massive international success because under Soviet law, all inventions belonged to the state. Only after moving to the US decades later did he finally start profiting from his iconic creation. Fact number 6. Soviet citizens were arrested for wearing blue jeans. Blue jeans were seen as capitalist symbols, therefore strongly discouraged by Soviet authorities. Black market dealers who sold Levi's or Wrangler jeans risked arrest, and students wearing them faced suspension or harsh penalties, making jeans a dangerous yet popular act of rebellion. Fact number 7. The Soviet Union drilled the world's deepest hole. In 1970, Soviet engineers began the Kola superdeep borehole, attempting to drill deeper than anyone else in history. They drilled continuously for decades, ultimately reaching over 12 kilometers deep, but stopped abruptly because temperatures at that depth, over 180 degrees Celsius, melted their drilling equipment. Fact number 8. Stalin had photos, edited before Photoshop existed. Soviet censors used early photo editing techniques to erase people who fell out of Stalin's favor from official photographs. Therefore, comrades who were once celebrated suddenly vanished from historical pictures. These alterations were done meticulously by hand, literally rewriting history. Fact number 9. Soviet cosmonauts carried shotguns into space. In the 1960s and 70s, Soviet cosmonauts routinely landed in remote Siberian wilderness upon re-entry. Therefore, they were issued a triple-barreled shotgun, the TP-82, designed specifically for survival, defense against bears and wolves, or as a signaling device rather than space battles. Fact number 10. Bone music was secretly distributed in the USSR. Western rock music was banned, but resourceful Soviet youths secretly copied forbidden songs onto discarded X-ray films. These makeshift records, nicknamed bone music, allowed thousands to enjoy banned Beatles and Elvis songs hidden from KGB scrutiny. Fact number 11. Stalin's Cannibal Island. In 1933, Stalin's regime forcibly relocated thousands of people deemed undesirable to Natsino Island in Siberia. but authorities didn't provide adequate food or shelter. Therefore, people resorted to cannibalism just to survive. Within weeks, over 4,000 died in horrific conditions. Fact number 12. Soviet doctors diagnosed political dissent as insanity. During the Cold War, Soviet psychiatrists regularly labeled political opposition as a mental disorder called sluggish schizophrenia. Therefore, perfectly sane dissidents were imprisoned indefinitely in psychiatric hospitals and subjected to forced medication, chemical torture, and lifelong stigmatization. Fact number 13. Soviet spies stole the atomic bomb secrets. In 1949, the USSR shocked the world by detonating its first atomic bomb, years sooner than expected. But how did they do it? Therefore, using spies like Klaus Fuchs, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, and others, Soviet intelligence stole crucial atomic secrets from America's Manhattan Project, speeding up their nuclear program by years. Fact number 14. The Soviet Union had a fake American town. In the 1960s, the KGB secretly built a fake American suburb inside the USSR for spy training. This fake town included American-style grocery stores, homes, and even cars. Therefore, Soviet spies lived there for months, practicing perfect English and learning how to blend seamlessly into American life. Fact number 15. The Soviets attempted mind control experiments. In response to America's MK-Ultra program, Soviet scientists undertook their own terrifying experiments in mind control. Secret labs administered psychoactive substances, hypnosis, and electric shocks to unwilling subjects, attempting to create obedient spies and interrogate prisoners without resistance. Fact number 16. Soviet propaganda claimed chess proved communism was superior. Soviet chess grandmasters dominated world competitions for decades, but the USSR turned their victories into political propaganda, claiming their dominance in chess proved communism's intellectual superiority over capitalism, turning a beloved game into a tense ideological battlefield. Fact number 17. Stalin sent meteorologists to gulags for bad forecasts. In the 1930s, incorrect weather forecasts could land meteorologists in labor camps. Stalin feared bad weather predictions sabotaged Soviet agriculture and the economy. Therefore, meteorologists often falsified forecasts just to avoid imprisonment, turning weather prediction into a life-threatening job. Fact number 18. The Soviets once accidentally shot down their own plane. In 1960, the Soviets accidentally shot down their own civilian aircraft carrying soldiers and officers. But to hide their mistake, authorities blamed the incident on the West, claiming NATO had launched an aggressive attack. The truth remained classified for decades. Fact number 19. Soviet scientists created a two-headed dog. In the 1950s, Soviet scientist Vladimir Demikhov pioneered bizarre experiments, including transplanting a second head onto a dog. The two-headed creature survived several weeks. Demikhov's experiments laid groundwork for modern organ transplants, but were ethically shocking and deeply disturbing. Fact number 20. The Soviets accidentally exposed thousands to anthrax. In 1979, a secret Soviet bioweapons laboratory in Sverdlovsk accidentally released airborne anthrax spores, killing around 100 people and sickening thousands more. But the Soviet government officially blamed the deaths on tainted meat, keeping the real cause hidden until the 1990s. Fact number 21. Stalin had an army of body doubles. Joseph Stalin was deeply paranoid about assassination attempts. Therefore, he employed multiple body doubles who made public appearances for him, creating confusion among foreign intelligence agencies, and even his own inner circle. Fact number 22. The Soviets banned George Orwell's 1984 because it was too realistic. Although Orwell's dystopian masterpiece criticized totalitarianism generally, Soviet authorities banned it immediately upon release in 1949, fearing citizens would recognize their own society reflected too accurately within its pages. Fact number 23. Soviet tanks accidentally invaded Poland for a day. In 1968, during the Prague Spring crackdown, Soviet tanks accidentally crossed into Poland due to poor navigation. But confusion ensued, causing international embarrassment, as tanks quickly retreated once they realized the mistake. Fact number 24. The USSR had a robot tank in World War II. In the 1940s, Soviet engineers developed teletanks, early remotely controlled tanks filled with explosives. These primitive robot tanks were guided via radio signals, making them among the first robotic military weapons. Fact number 25. The KGB spied on foreign diplomats with fake typewriters. During the Cold War, Soviet intelligence gave foreign embassies rigged typewriters that secretly recorded keystrokes, sending detailed copies of diplomatic messages directly to KGB headquarters. Fact number 26. There was a secret Soviet space weapon. In the 1980s, the Soviet Union built and tested a secret armed space station called Polyus, designed to shoot down enemy satellites and even threaten spacecraft. However, it malfunctioned and crashed back to Earth shortly after launch. Fact number 27. The USSR used laser weapons to blind enemy pilots. During the Cold War, Soviet scientists developed lasers powerful enough to temporarily or permanently blind pilots of enemy aircraft, creating enormous ethical controversy and international protests. Fact number 28. Stalin's secret police had a quota for executions. During Stalin's Great Purge, 1936 to 1938, the NKVD was assigned explicit execution quotas. Agents arrested and executed innocent people merely to meet targets, sending fear and paranoia rippling through society. Fact number 29. The Soviets had a military dolphin program. Similar to American efforts, the Soviet Navy trained dolphins and other sea mammals to place explosives on enemy ships, detect mines, and even perform underwater espionage, turning marine life into lethal military assets. Fact number 30. The Soviet Union built fake villages to fool foreign observers. To hide economic problems, Soviet authorities built elaborate fake villages, complete with painted facades, staged farmers, and actors posing as happy citizens, ensuring visiting foreign journalists saw only prosperity and abundance. Fact number 31. The USSR once built a nuclear-powered plane. During the Cold War, Soviet engineers attempted to build a nuclear-powered airplane called the Tupolev Tu-119, but the project was abandoned because shielding pilots from deadly radiation proved impossible, leaving behind dangerous radioactive waste. Fact number 32. The Soviets thought Americans invented jazz as a weapon. Jazz was officially banned and condemned in the USSR as an ideological weapon created by the CIA to weaken Soviet youth with decadent Western influences. Therefore, jazz enthusiasts secretly gathered in basements, risking imprisonment to listen. Fact number 33. The Soviet Union tried to drain the Caspian Sea. In the 1960s, Soviet planners proposed a bizarre mega-project to partially drain the Caspian Sea, hoping to irrigate arid Central Asian farmland. Fortunately, the environmental disaster it would have caused convinced authorities to cancel it. Fact number 34. Stalin's son died in a Nazi prison after Stalin refused a prisoner exchange. When Nazis captured Stalin's son, Yakov, during World War II, they offered an exchange for a high-ranking German prisoner. But Stalin coldly refused, famously remarking, "I will not trade a marshal for a lieutenant," condemning his own son to death. Fact number 35. Soviet citizens had to apply for permission to own a typewriter. Owning a typewriter without government approval was illegal, as typewriters were tightly controlled to prevent underground publishing. Therefore, unauthorized writers faced severe punishment if caught producing unauthorized texts. Fact number 36. The Soviet Union attempted to weaponize the bubonic plague. During the Cold War, secret Soviet biological weapons programs tried weaponizing the bubonic plague by placing deadly bacteria inside missiles, potentially capable of unleashing devastating pandemics worldwide. Fact number 37. The Soviets built an invisible spy plane. In the late Cold War, the USSR developed stealth technology similar to the American B-2 bomber. Their experimental aircraft, like the Sukhoi T-4MS, aimed to be virtually invisible to radar, terrifying Western military strategists. Fact number 38. Soviet scientists tried to reverse aging. In the 1920s, eccentric Soviet scientist Alexander Bogdanov conducted experiments involving blood transfusions to achieve immortality and reverse aging. However, he accidentally killed himself after receiving contaminated blood. Fact number 39. Moscow's metro stations doubled as nuclear bunkers. Many of Moscow's ornate metro stations were secretly built deep underground, specifically designed to function as nuclear shelters during Cold War tensions. Citizens commuting daily had no idea they walked through hidden bomb shelters. Fact number 40. The Soviets trained psychic spies. To compete with America's secretive remote viewing experiments, Soviet intelligence agencies conducted extensive research on psychic powers, attempting to spy on Western secrets through telepathy and mind-reading techniques. Fact number 41. The USSR invented an explosive space cannon. During the Cold War, Soviet scientists secretly developed the Almaz military space stations equipped with onboard cannons capable of firing explosive shells. This space cannon was tested successfully, terrifying Western intelligence. Fact number 42. Soviet schoolchildren were trained to throw grenades. As part of Cold War-era military training, Soviet children as young as 10 regularly practiced grenade throwing in schools. Teachers emphasized military readiness, even at elementary school age, embedding warfare into everyday life. Fact number 43. Stalin nearly assassinated John Wayne. Joseph Stalin was outraged by John Wayne's fierce anti-communism. Therefore, Stalin personally ordered the KGB to assassinate Wayne, sending agents to America. However, Stalin died before the plan could be executed, sparing the actor's life. Fact number 44. The USSR tried to create an army of super soldiers using steroids. In secret labs, Soviet scientists gave elite soldiers experimental steroid treatments, attempting to build superhuman strength and endurance. But many soldiers suffered severe side effects, leaving permanent physical and mental scars. Fact number 45. The Soviets once planned to destroy the moon. In the late 1950s, Soviet military strategists explored detonating nuclear weapons on the moon's surface as a show of strength and technological dominance. Fortunately, cooler heads prevailed, preventing this dangerous stunt. Fact number 46. Soviet cosmonauts smuggled vodka into space. Despite strict rules, Soviet cosmonauts secretly smuggled small bottles of vodka aboard spacecraft, drinking to celebrate missions. But alcohol in zero gravity posed risks, prompting later regulations and disciplinary actions. Fact number 47. The Soviets built a doomsday machine. The dead hand perimeter system, activated in the 1980s, was an automated nuclear retaliation system designed to launch nuclear missiles if Soviet leadership was destroyed. It still reportedly exists today, a chilling legacy of Cold War paranoia. Fact number 48. Stalin ordered his doctors arrested for trying to poison him. In 1952 to 1953, Stalin accused his own trusted doctors, mostly Jewish, of attempting assassination through medical treatment. This fabricated doctor's plot led to mass arrests. But Stalin died suddenly in 1953, ironically due to lack of timely medical care. Fact number 49. The Soviet Union had a UFO investigation program. In the late Cold War era, the Soviet military secretly investigated thousands of UFO sightings, worried they might represent advanced Western spy technology. But no evidence emerged, leading some scientists to speculate openly about alien encounters. Fact number 50. The Soviet Union built tanks powered by jet engines. In the 1960s, Soviet engineers tested the T-80 tank powered by gas turbine engines, essentially modified jet engines. These vehicles reached remarkable speeds, but consumed massive amounts of fuel, limiting their practicality. Fact number 51. Soviet athletes secretly underwent gender testing. During international competitions, Soviet sports officials conducted secret gender tests on female athletes to avoid accusations of doping or identity fraud. These invasive and humiliating practices were hidden from the public. Fact number 52. Stalin had a special film archive for personal use. Joseph Stalin secretly maintained a private collection of Hollywood movies, many banned for ordinary Soviet citizens. He frequently watched Charlie Chaplin comedies alone, even though publicly he denounced Western culture. Fact number 53. Soviets created fake passport factories for spies. The KGB operated elaborate fake passport factories, producing flawless Western passports for undercover agents. These counterfeit passports were so perfect. Western security agencies spent decades developing measures to detect them. Fact number 54. The Soviets once planned to invade Japan. Immediately after World War II, Stalin seriously considered invading northern Japan to expand Soviet influence. But when the US dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Stalin quickly abandoned the risky idea. Fact number 55. Stalin wanted to reverse Siberian rivers. In the late 1940s, Stalin approved a gigantic project to reverse the flow of major Siberian rivers to irrigate southern farmland. But the potentially catastrophic environmental impact forced Soviet engineers to quietly abandon the plan. Fact number 56. Soviet scientists attempted resurrection experiments. In the 1940s, Soviet scientist Sergei Brukhonenko claimed he briefly revived decapitated dogs using a primitive heart-lung machine. While scientifically controversial, his disturbing experiments fascinated and horrified observers worldwide. Fact number 57. Soviets used dogs as suicide bombers in Wadwitso. During World War II, Soviet soldiers trained dogs strapped with explosives to run under enemy tanks. But the tragic experiments often backfired when confused dogs ran back towards Soviet lines, causing unintended damage and chaos. Fact number 58. Soviet cosmonauts hid accidental deaths. Rumors persist that early Soviet space missions resulted in secret cosmonaut deaths. Officially denied by the USSR, alleged lost cosmonauts, such as Vladimir Ilyushin, became a dark myth of Soviet space exploration. Fact number 59. The KGB operated a fake tourist agency. During the Cold War, the KGB secretly operated Intourist, a state travel agency designed to monitor foreign visitors closely. All tourists had their movements tracked, hotel rooms bugged, and activities scrutinized by secret police. Fact number 60. Soviets built an automated nuclear missile train. In the 1980s, the USSR constructed Molodets, a terrifyingly stealthy nuclear missile system hidden aboard civilian-looking railway cars. Capable of rapid, unpredictable launches, It kept Western military strategists awake at night. Fact number 61. The Soviet Union sent spies disguised as Canadians to America. During the Cold War, KGB spies pretended to be Canadians to blend easily into American society. They meticulously studied Canadian culture, accents, and mannerisms, deceiving Americans and even Canadians themselves for years. Fact number 62. Stalin wanted to create giant rabbits for food. To address Soviet food shortages, Stalin commissioned experiments aiming to breed rabbits as large as dogs. Despite serious efforts and bizarre breeding programs, these giant rabbits never succeeded, and the project quietly vanished. Fact number 63. Soviet spacecraft secretly carried cyanide pills. Soviet cosmonauts reportedly carried cyanide pills aboard spacecraft to avoid capture or slow death in case of a landing in enemy territory. Thankfully, no cosmonaut ever had to use these grim capsules. Fact number 64. Soviet police created fake crime scenes to catch Western spies. The KGB staged elaborate fake incidents like car crashes or muggings to lure and capture Western spies in compromising situations, demonstrating extraordinary creativity and ruthlessness in spycraft. Fact number 65. The Soviet Union attempted to create flying tanks. In World War II, Soviet engineers designed the Antonov A-40, a tank fitted with wings to glide onto battlefields. But tests proved disastrous, and the bizarre flying tank was quickly abandoned. Fact number 66. The KGB hid listening devices inside American embassy walls. In the 1970s, Soviet spies bugged the US Embassy in Moscow by secretly embedding microphones directly into the concrete walls during construction, forcing Americans to later rebuild the entire embassy building. Fact number 67. The USSR had a secret city for nuclear workers. Soviet authorities built closed, secretive cities, like Chelyabinsk 65, to house nuclear workers. Residents couldn't leave without special permits, living their entire lives hidden from the rest of the Soviet population. Fact number 68. The Soviets developed a chemical weapon that could cause temporary blindness. During the Cold War, Soviet chemists secretly created BZ, a chemical agent causing hallucinations and temporary blindness, intended for incapacitating enemy soldiers without killing them outright. Fact number 69. The Soviet Union had an official state-sponsored psychic healer. In the 1980s, Anatoly Kashpirovsky, a psychic healer, conducted televised psychic surgeries, attracting millions of Soviet viewers who genuinely believed he could heal diseases through their TV screens. Fact number 70. The USSR built a massive aircraft carrier that couldn't carry aircraft. The Soviets constructed aircraft-carrying cruisers, bizarre hybrids that lacked proper aircraft launching capabilities. The massive ships, like the Kyiv class, symbolized military might, but struggled practically, becoming costly failures. Fact number 71. Stalin considered building a tunnel to America. In the late 1940s, Stalin reportedly entertained plans to dig a massive tunnel under the Bering Strait, connecting the Soviet Union directly to Alaska. But immense costs and logistical impossibilities caused the project's swift abandonment. Fact number 72. Soviets used a fake submarine to spy on Americans. The USSR constructed elaborate mock submarines, floating espionage stations disguised as harmless research vessels, to secretly monitor American naval exercises, intercept communications, and record sensitive military data. Fact number 73. Soviet citizens had to pass tests to travel abroad. Ordinary Soviet citizens were rarely allowed to leave the country. Those who applied faced rigorous tests of political loyalty and psychological evaluations. Most failed, and few ever saw life outside the USSR. Fact number 74. Soviet soldiers once accidentally invaded Finland for sausage. In 1939, Soviet troops mistakenly crossed into Finland, reportedly chasing after the smell of sausages cooking nearby. This bizarre incident briefly escalated tensions during an already fragile period. Fact number 75. The Soviet Navy accidentally lost nuclear weapons at sea. During the Cold War, the Soviet Navy lost several nuclear warheads due to submarine accidents. Some of these lost weapons remain missing underwater to this day, potentially posing radioactive hazards. Fact number 76. The Soviets secretly built floating nuclear reactors. In the 1960s and 1970s, Soviet engineers constructed floating nuclear power plants mounted on ships, capable of supplying remote military bases or coastal towns with electricity, but posing enormous safety risks. Fact number 77. Stalin's favorite composer secretly criticized him. Dmitri Shostakovich, a celebrated Soviet composer publicly admired by Stalin, secretly embedded subtle anti-Stalin messages within his music. Stalin never realized the truth, allowing Shostakovich to survive the regime's brutal purges. Fact number 78. Soviet spies hid weapons in Western cities. During the Cold War, KGB agents secretly buried caches of weapons and explosives across Western Europe and America, preparing sabotage networks in case war erupted. Some caches may still remain hidden today. Fact number 79. The USSR had a secret space shuttle program. The Soviet Union secretly built the Buran, a nearly identical copy of America's space shuttle, capable of launching nuclear payloads. But after only a single flight, the costly program collapsed with the USSR itself. Fact number 80. Soviet cosmonauts hid religious icons in spacecraft. Though officially atheistic, several Soviet cosmonauts secretly brought religious icons aboard spacecraft, hoping for divine protection on dangerous missions. Discovery would have risked severe punishment by Soviet authorities. Fact number 81. Soviet scientists once planned to colonize Venus. In the 1960s, Soviet space researchers considered seriously colonizing Venus, believing its thick clouds hid a paradise-like environment. But when probes revealed Venus was an inferno, plans quickly evaporated. Fact number 82. Stalin executed his own translators for minor mistakes. Stalin's paranoia ran so deep that translators who made minor errors during diplomatic negotiations or official translations risked arrest, imprisonment, or execution, creating a climate of constant fear. Fact number 83. Soviet cosmonauts experienced haunting visions in orbit. Multiple Soviet cosmonauts privately reported hallucinations, mysterious figures, and strange sounds during space missions. Authorities quickly attributed these visions to stress, but the incidents remain unexplained. Fact number 84. Soviet athletes trained with wolves. In certain extreme Soviet military and sports camps, elite athletes and soldiers reportedly trained in harsh wilderness settings, sometimes using wild animals, such as wolves, to toughen their survival instincts. Fact number 85. The Soviets built a giant radar so powerful it could detect missiles around the globe. The Duga radar, nicknamed the Russian woodpecker, was a massive secret radar installation. It emitted powerful signals worldwide, disrupting radio signals and fueling global conspiracy theories. Fact number 86. Stalin tried to create immortal soldiers. In the late 1940s, Stalin secretly supported experiments aimed at artificially extending soldiers' lifespans through hormonal injections and organ transplants. The chilling attempts ultimately failed in secrecy. Fact number 87. The Soviet Union had a national telepathic hotline. In the 1980s, the Soviet government funded an official hotline staffed by supposed psychics who claimed they could communicate telepathically with citizens, providing psychological relief during economic hardships. Fact number 88. Soviets built a fake NATO airbase for training. To prepare their pilots for possible war, Soviets meticulously constructed a full-scale replica NATO airbase deep inside Soviet territory, down to precise runways, hangars, and aircraft replicas. Fact number 89. KGB agents poisoned dissidents with radioactive tea. In notorious incidents, Soviet agents secretly poisoned critics with radioactive substances placed in tea or food, causing slow, agonizing deaths. Most famously, the poisoning of dissident Alexander Litvinenko decades later, allegedly by ex-KGB officers. Fact number 90. The Soviet Union secretly buried toxic nuclear waste in lakes. Soviet nuclear facilities covertly dumped highly radioactive waste in remote lakes, secretly contaminating large regions of land and water. Some areas remain dangerously radioactive today, hidden from public awareness. Fact number 91. The USSR invented a tank designed for nuclear warfare. The Object 279 was an experimental Soviet tank with a unique shape and extra armor, specifically designed to survive a nuclear blast shockwave. But the costly and impractical design kept it from ever entering production. Fact number 92. The Soviets once considered nuking the United States moon landing. When Apollo 11 approached the moon in 1969, Soviet military planners secretly debated launching a nuclear missile to destroy the American spacecraft and deny the US its historic achievement. Thankfully, they chose otherwise. Fact number 93. Stalin secretly funded psychic warfare experiments. Obsessed with gaining any advantage, Stalin funded secretive research into psychic phenomena, telekinesis, and mind control experiments designed to use paranormal methods against enemies. Fact number 94. The Soviets developed silent ammunition for assassinations. The KGB created specialized pistols and silent ammunition designed specifically for covert assassinations. The lethal but nearly soundless shots were perfect for quietly eliminating targets without attracting attention. Fact number 95. Soviet scientists built a giant mirror in space to create artificial daylight. In the 1990s, as a desperate attempt to boost agricultural yields, Soviet scientists launched Znamya, a giant reflective mirror in space intended to illuminate farmland at night, but technical issues ended the project abruptly. Fact number 96. The Soviets trained Falcons to intercept enemy aircraft. During World War II and the early Cold War, Soviet military experimented with training Falcons to attack enemy aircraft by carrying small explosives or interfering with engines. Thankfully, the impractical program was abandoned. Fact number 97. The USSR had secret plans to invade Western Europe. Throughout the Cold War, Soviet generals regularly rehearsed detailed invasion plans to sweep through Western Europe rapidly, capturing key NATO cities in mere days. Plans chillingly detailed but never enacted. Fact number 98. Stalin had a secret laboratory dedicated to poison research. The secretive Laboratory 1, also called the Poison Laboratory, was run by the NKVD. It produced untraceable toxins for political assassinations, some lethal enough to kill victims with only a drop on their skin. Fact number 99. Soviet students were trained to survive nuclear war in school basements. Throughout the Cold War, Soviet children regularly rehearsed nuclear survival drills in fortified school basements. Schools stocked gas masks, iodine tablets, and emergency rations to survive radioactive fallout. Fact number 100. The Soviet Union had an underground city for nuclear war. The Soviet Union secretly built an enormous underground bunker city beneath Moscow, known as Metro 2, complete with hospitals, command centers, and tunnels, ensuring the survival of Soviet leadership if nuclear war broke out.